go.
Streaming from South Africa to the world. This is the Stonks Go Moon podcast. What just happened? We break it down so you don't have to.
Welcome everyone to the Stonks Go Moon podcast. Our guest today is Zoe Hartsfield, returning guest, friend of the show, community architect at Spekit. Welcome to the pod.
Thank you. Community architect.
Community, it's actually community manager, but community architect sounds badass.
Yeah, I mean, it's really just to describe what I'm doing right now. Like community manager would imply that we had a community for me to manage. Community architect, I really just put that there to describe that we are actively building community. So The way we approach community at Spekit is twofold. Number one, we saw opportunity to partner with existing thriving communities like Sales Enablement Collective, Pavilion, Thursday Night Sales. Like, can we partner with these communities, establish ourselves as a value add, as an authority on quality onboarding, enablement, best practices. And so I manage those relationships, and that's a little bit of what I'm doing. But then we're also, go ahead.
No. Let's walk it back a bit. Let's start from the beginning. Let's say, why is community so important and why all of a sudden? Because if it's NFTs, I think people are realizing if you don't have a strong community, your project's going to fail. People try and set up a Discord. Oh yeah, and I've got a community. No, brother, that's not it. Tech guys are realizing, oh shit, I don't have a community. I guess that's where you guys have opportunities to build now. Why is community so important?
Well, you think about like this social trust that is built through community. And like, I think the crypto world is ahead of the game on this, right?
Yep.
Like, they understand that community, like projects live and die by community. If you have the backing of a community, you're going to have a lot greater chance at success. And also in the crypto world, like so many projects rely on people pooling resources together in order to get something off the ground anyway, because, you know, like startup costs for some of those things are high. So community just like creates fewer barriers to entry. It creates this like crowd source of opinions, feedback loops, content, and user generated content, which can help you build a brand, scale a project, test an idea. So I think community has been around for a while, but it hasn't been in the tech world for too long. There's some OGs like Erica Cole from Salesforce who have been doing it for, you know, longer than anyone and seeing a ton of success with it. But I think a lot of SaaS companies right now are catching on. Like there was recently a post by Dave Gerhardt, who was talking about how like these different big SaaS companies have been buying or acquiring communities and media arms because they see the value in it. And so many people will try to build community for community's sake and they will fail. So sometimes buying a community is like the easiest, most cost-effective way to do that. But some people are like seeing the value in it and willing to put in the time and the work to build something proprietary. And I think that is going to be a really interesting emerging space in the next two years.
Let's get into that. So let's say I have a podcast or I have a SaaS company or I have a tech company, whatever it may be. And I get in someone like Zoe, which from previous experience, her resume speaks for herself. She is a community builder. Where do you start and how do you start building that community?
Yeah, so you don't start by building anything. That's like the secret. Everybody jumps in and they're like, we're going to build community. Here's a Slack group, because there's a lot of easy, like scrappy ways to get started. You could build a Slack group and invite people. Great. Okay, what are you going to do when they all get there? There's nothing worse than a big community where everything is crickets. Like engagement is the name of the game. So you also have to think about who are you building for?
Okay.
And when you know who your ideal community member is, then you have to start asking questions like, well, what do they want? What do they need? What exists in the community landscape today that they can get somewhere else? And what doesn't exist that they might want where I can gap fill? Because the reality is there are communities out there, right? There's a million Discord channels. There's a million Slack groups. There's a million whatever forums you could jump into. You could go to Reddit and find a community of people who are talking about a topic. But, you know, not every community is all encompassing. So you got to kind of see what's out there. You got to see, okay, what do I wish these communities had that they don't have? And then like calculate that in with the who you're talking to. And then you do a bunch of research, like you interview people from within your organization and say, what would benefit us? Like from a community standpoint, would it be, oh, we get like more product feedback, or, oh, I would love our customer success team to have more access to our customers, or sales, I want more leads. Everybody's got different goals, but you need internal buy-in. And then you go to your ideal community member. Maybe it's going to be your customers. Maybe it's your future prospects. Maybe it's somebody totally different. And you interview them and you say, what do you want from a community? What would you need? What would you benefit from? You take all that data, you find the synergies, you find the recurring themes, and then you start small and you build around that. You get like a beta group of people, probably customers to start with.
How many size? Well, what's a good size?
I think we're going to start with like 30 to 50 like hyper-focused individuals, and they will be like hand invited. Okay. And it'll be like, all right, we're going to test this out. And you start it over like one topic. So maybe it'll be product focused first. Like, hey, this is a user group. We're just going to talk about how to use Spekit really effectively. Okay, great. Once we've crushed that, then it's like, all right, you guys are all sales enablement professionals. Let's like add more value to this, even if it doesn't relate to Spekit. We're going to talk about best practices. We're going to talk about the entire tech stack. So beyond Spekit, what are people using? What are best practices there? How do you create good curriculum? How do you create good onboarding experiences? How do you create good content and add value that way? Well, now it's no longer just a Spekit user group, and there's value outside of Spekit. Now we can start inviting more people. And now we've got potential future prospects in there. And now we can add more programs, more channels. Okay, we want to do a weekly webinar. Oh, now we want to do a podcast. Oh, now we want to have customer panels and AMAs. We want to have segmented groups where they can speak about specific topics. We want to break it out. We've got onboarding professionals. We've got enablement professionals. We've got RevOps professionals. And it scales from there. But you have to start somewhere small. And I think at the end of the day, I can plan where I think this community will go. Yeah. But like I talked to Erica Cole, she gave me a lot of really good advice. And she was like, you're not the expert. Your members are the expert in what they do. So let them kind of guide where the community goes. So I could have all these ideas and it could totally flip on its head as we get in there and start building. Yeah. So you also have to be like hyper fluid and let them lead you. Yeah, you have to be fluid. You have to learn to speak their language. Like right now, I am not an enablement pro by any means, but I am spending the next several months just immersing myself in that world and learning their language, their problems, their day-to-day. Like I want to know what an enablement professional does inside and out. Yes. So that when they say something to me, I'm not like asking them to explain everything over and over. Like I can just hear them and understand them and create programs and products and parts of the community that cater to them. Because at the end of the day, like our customers and our like the enablement professional in our eyes, they're the hero and we're doing this for them. And so I need to let them kind of be the hero of the story, be the hero of the community and guide where we're going to go. And for that, like I need to understand who they are, what they care about, and I need to show up for them. Yeah, I wish to highlight through this podcast how difficult community building is, because people think it's easy. And then community building is one thing. Like you can build a community, right? But like to really have longevity, you need to maintain it. And that's a whole different ballgame. Well, it's like it never stops. You're continuously building. But you know what I mean? It's like, I built a community, cool. And then a couple of months down the line, that community is dead because it wasn't maintained. Totally. Yeah. I mean, I can think of two off the top of my head that I've been a part of. One that has a lot of members and is known to be a really big community, but it's kind of like crickets when you show up in the Slack community and the events are not really well attended and the content is kind of like, it's okay. So how do you keep it fresh? How do you maintain that community? Well, first things first, I think you need somebody who's willing to like roll up their sleeves and do the work and understand what the heck the members want. Like you can't, that's why I say like companies will just like go gung ho and build a community for the sake of community and it's going to fail. Yeah. There's some like staggering stat. I can't remember if Coro said it or if I heard it on Erica's podcast, but like most communities that get started fail in the first 3 to 4 months of launch because they build with an idea in mind and they don't change course as they realize that their members want something different. So I think step one is like, I can't go in making assumptions. You got to do that groundwork research and build something for the people. And then it is starting small, making sure you nail it. And then like, as soon as you nail it, you understand why it's working. And then you introduce a new arm or a new program. And at some point, you probably need to bring in another person or two to manage different things. So like, I haven't gotten to this point yet. It'll be a while before Spekit needs this, but like at some point I'll probably need one or two people, somebody to just like manage the like forums, and I'll need champions from sales to like jump in and answer sales questions, and champions from CS. I think it's getting buy-in from your company to say, we are going to champion this and there is value in it for me. So that's why that research of like going internal and seeing what would benefit the team from having a community and forming certain things around that. Like if product wants product feedback and I want product people in the community helping our users, then I need to facilitate a channel or something where like our users and our product team can interact in a way that isn't like pushy from product and isn't needy from users, but it's like this like flow and sort of a growth loop, right? And so it's thinking about how can you install these growth loops within the various channels, within the various sections of the community, and then build and scale programs around those same concepts.
Okay. So let's say someone's listening to this podcast, he sees the hot take and he says in 6 or 7 months or 8 months, maybe, or a year, whatever the case may be, I want to join Zoe at Spekit. What are you looking for in those community managers? What type of skills? And I mean, it's all about personality for me, but that's just personal speaking. But what are you looking for?
Yeah, so I think anyone with a sales, CS, product, like an enablement, just because of our community specifically, background, like anyone who understands how to talk to people and is like very customer centric. I think sales and CS stick out to me the most, or even marketers. Like you need to have good communication skills. You need to be organized. You need to be able to maintain relationships real well, which is why like, I think that sort of go to market side of the house might be a little bit more well suited for that. However, like I know some very talented product people. I know some very conversational finance people. So I don't think it's like role specific, but you need to be able to maintain relationships, listen, and iterate very, very quickly. So if we're getting feedback and it's like, hey, this channel sucks, or like this like program or this webinar series is like, we need to be able to like ship something and pivot very quickly if it doesn't work. So I think a lot of flexibility is involved, but also just like fun and creativity. Community is harder than I think people realize, but it's also so fun and it's such a new space. You have so much opportunity to try new things. So I would say being brave enough to like try new things, being agile and flexible, and just being a people person. Those are kind of the three core things.
I completely agree with you. Before I let you go, where those skills are all soft skills, am I right? Those are mainly soft skills. Where did you pick up your soft skills?
That's a good question. So when I was a kid, I was a musician. And so like I played in front of a lot of people. I was also an athlete, and I was like varsity team captain, and I was student body vice president. So I got a lot of experience, like leading teams as much as you can when you're 16 years old playing soccer, but like leading teams and like being in front of people, public speaking. And I just got very comfortable understanding how to like listen and empathize and react in a moment and entertain essentially. And I wouldn't say I'm like a super funny or entertaining person, but I think those formative years were really helpful for me in learning how to engage an audience and get people to rally around like a concept. Like if you can inspire people, if you can excite people, which I'm not an expert at by any means, but if you can do it on any level, you can like practice and iterate that skill. So I think it started when I was in high school, but I would say just like being given opportunities in sales to talk to a lot of customers on the phone, like getting hung up on all day, every day. And like just learning how to like face rejection and turn no's into yeses, and turning not yets into, oh, next week. Sure. Like I think there's a lot of finesse there. So in sales, and I think just like those early days, like public speaking, public engagement kind of things helped.
So thank you so much for joining me. If the listeners want to go and connect with you, where's the best place to do that? And what are some other things that you're busy with?
Yeah, LinkedIn is going to be the best place to connect with me. I do have a Twitter, but I've posted like 2 tweets and I don't know how to use Twitter. So like, don't. So
what do you think of this big movement from LinkedIn to Twitter recently?
Because I kind of love it, but like I'm overwhelmed. Like I don't know how to use Twitter. So I need to spend some time learning the algo and like dedicating.
You need to come and join. You need to come and join us. It's fun.
Yeah. But I also think there's a really cool crypto community on Twitter, which I'm sort of fascinated by. But I would say LinkedIn, and then my best pal Kelsey and I are starting a podcast that's coming out in a couple of weeks. Title is still under wraps, where our logo should be coming back to us today, and we're really excited to announce that. But keep an eye out for an interesting SaaS podcast in the near future.
Absolutely, we'll use our podfluence to give you as much shout out as possible. Thank you so much for joining me again. To our listeners, peace, love, and prosperity. And we'll check you in the next one. Cheers.